This is essentially what we're talking about here is permissions. So this first example here with step 1, we're importing from framework permissions, and we're going to tell our API view that the permission classes, which is a list, so you can have multiple types of permissions in your class, are going to be permissions.isAuthenticated or read-only. Now this is basically going to say, because this list view is a list create view, it's going to say you can do a get if you're not authenticated, but if you are authenticated, I'll let you do a get and a post. Make sense? So that's pretty much straightforward. I don't have an example here for how this would work in your generic view because it works exactly the same way. There's no difference. What happens next is serializers gets an update. So you know what I was saying before, how we've manually done create for project. You have to do a manual update as well. So this update basically says get all of this information and then save it and return it. In the counter example for this, which is your pledge serializer, because it's a model serializer, you don't have to do this, this is automatically done. But because it's a manual serializer, you have to do it manually. So this is the longhand. There isn't an example for the shorthand because the shorthand's already done. We don't need to worry about it. Cool. And then next in the views, we're doing a put. So this is adding for the detail. The detail has now got the ability to edit. I don't think I've given you a detail generic. I don't think there's one actually in this example either, but that's a thing we can talk about in class. All this is doing is just saying, cool, all right, if there's a put, we need to have a primary key just like we did for our get. But instead of just being a get, we're going to say, cool, we're going to take the serialized data, but we're going to add a new thing. So this instance project means this is what we're starting with. This is the instance, the thing that I want to edit, the thing I want to update is this instance. Data is data, which is just, that's the payload that the user sent me when they made this request, is data, and partial equals true means if the person who submitted this has not given me everything to update, only update the things it's given me. So do a partial update. Like it doesn't have to be a full rewrite. It just can be like, oh, we're just updating the name. So just do the name. Technically that's a patch, but let's not get too excited about semantics. If serializer is valid, serializer save. So it's basically going, cool, we're going to create a serializer with all this stuff, and then we're going to validate it, and then we're going to save it. So cool, done. Step 3, import permissions. So this next bit is to do a custom permission. In this particular case, you're creating a class that's is owner or read only, permissions, base permissions. So base permissions, like here's a default generic thing like that user that we use, the custom user. We've gone, right, give me like a class that is the general genericness that is a permission, and I'm going to create my own. And this has got, has object permission. So out of this permission, we're going to check to see if the object itself has a permission. That's going to check for a request, a view, and an object. If the request method in permissions.safe methods, return true. What that is saying is if this is like a get, this is not editing something, it's a safe permission, it's something they've asked for, and options are a get, we don't care, so just say it's true. Otherwise, check to see if the owner of this object is the user that's logged in. If object owner is the same, if object owner is request user. So is the logged in user the owner? And then basically, if that's true, it'll allow you to edit it. If it's false, it'll deny your edit. Make sense? Cool. And then this is essentially how you would add this to either your API view or your generic. So in this case, we're adding a permission class. So the permission class is owner or read only. In your generic, you'd only have to do that. In this, we're going to do an extra level where we have to go check object permissions because it's a longhand one. We're doing everything manually. So you actually have to call that check rather than have it automatically done for us. So in get object, you have to expand that to have like a self, check object permission, self.request project. Project is the object that we're checking, so we have to check against that. That's why it's getting passed. If so, return project. So very similar to what was happening before, you're just adding an extra step of authentication. And that's it. That's what you have to go through for homework. Any questions while I'm still recording?
So skip step 2, because we've been doing what we've been doing.
No, you need to do step 2 because this is the project like serializer, which needs to have this extra information. It's the project detail serializer specifically. Technically, I would put that into my project serializer, and then that would cascade down. I think that's a bit funny. I would actually put that in project serializer. But anyway, no, you have to do this bit. But for your pledges, you don't have to worry about it because pledges is taken care of because it's a model serializer. And in serializers, it will be serializers pledge serializer. So your pledge serializer doesn't need to be changed. The bit that's here, which is the project detail serializer, I would actually put it project serializer, does need to be updated. So just update the thing that's there and don't update the thing that's not there. It'll make sense. Follow the document. Document makes mostly makes sense, except for this bit, which I'm about to change. All right, there we go. No more questions? Cool. Stopping the recording.